Hi, everybody, and welcome to another edition of GLP's 10 out of 10. And today we have with us lighting designer Jeff Ravitz. Jeff graduated from Northwestern University's theatre department in Illinois, but soon got pulled towards live music. Combining his theatrical education background with his live music passion, Jeff soon began forging a career working with bands such as Styx, Yes, and Steely Dan. It wasn't long after that Jeff got offered the lighting designer role on Bruce Springsteen's Born in the USA tour, kickstarting a creative collaboration that continues to this day. Along the way, Jeff found himself getting more and more involved with television lighting, initially with his own shows, but then also in a slightly unique role where he's able to adapt the lighting of other designers' live concerts to make them work for camera. Additionally, Jeff also consults on feature films and commercials and is a sought-after speaker. With all of this, his list of credits is extensive and includes music acts from every genre: comedy specials, award shows, concert tours, television shows, Olympic medal ceremonies, one-off events, music festivals, a Broadway run, and much more besides. His IMDb listing is just astonishing. Jeff has won multiple awards for his work, including being named Performance Magazine's Lighting Designer of the Year, the Parnelli Lighting Designer of the Year, along with multiple Aurora Awards, Telly Awards, Regional Emmy Awards, and a Primetime Emmy Award. Welcome, Jeff Ravitz.
Oh, thank you, Mark. Wow.
It is absolutely astonishing, the body of work that you've got behind you now. It's fascinating. As I mentioned, the IMDb listing, goes back to some of the early stuff in your career, and it's
I mean, kind of amazing to think about, but I guess if you live long enough and if you persevere in this business, you can get a long list of credits.
You're right. Yeah. Fantastic. Okay, so we've got our 10 questions for you that we're ready to go with. So I think this is going to be great. So if we wind back to the in the beginning of your career, what was your first show as a designer?
Well, when I got out of school, aside from some local theater projects in the Chicago area, I was reading a local arts magazine one day, and there was an ad in the back looking for a lighting designer for a national recording group. I had no idea who it was. I went in, I actually had to fill out an application, and it was a Chicago artist named Bill Quaitman. I was hired to work for him, use house systems. I actually owned about 10 lights and Licos and Fresnels, and went into these venues. I was, kind of jack of all trades, set up the keyboards, set up the drums, drove, and did the lighting.
Absolutely incredible. Fantastic. Well, I'm sure that segueing into our second question, all of those shows that you've done over this extensive career so far, that I'm sure most of them gone absolutely smoothly, and there's never been any issues at all. But perhaps there's been a couple of sort of Spinal Tap moments where things didn't quite go right.
I was designing a comedy show for Martin Lawrence. I think it was a Showtime special, and working for a producer that I'd been trying to get in with for a long time. And somebody on the production staff had an idea that when the comedian walked out, he should be backlit in a barrage of floor lights, no front light, just sort of that, heavy duty backlight look with lots of I thought, okay, great. We set it up. It looked really good. Stand-in came on stage to try it, and the whole team of people and network people are standing there. And cue doesn't happen when he walks on. So the network people are kind of upset, but kind of reworked it. Everything seemed to be okay. The talent came out again. Still, the cue didn't happen as we had programmed it just a moment before.
Okay.
So they left at a huff saying, just sort of get it right. We'll do it at the show. And I practiced it for the rest of the afternoon until doors. And it looked great, and it was happening exactly perfectly. Well, of course, during the show, there's the moment. Director calls out, go with the cue. I'm in the truck surrounded by all of these suits. And not only does the cue not happen,
Oh.
but the entire stage and audience and everything completely blacks out to the point where we had to stop down the show, do the walk on again. They said, don't even try the cue. It turned out that the programmer was so intent on getting it right. Somehow he had brushed up against the blackout button on the console and the whole system just cut out.
Wow. Oh, that's terrible. Oh. Okay. So what would you say is the best piece of advice that anyone's ever given you, either professionally or otherwise?
Well, early on when I was just beginning to touch on to working in television projects and projects for the camera, I would generally be the tour LD that the video team would come in and rework my show, for me, thank you very much. And one in particular was the Styx show that was based on their Kilroy Was Here tour. It was called Caught in the Act, but it was based on that Mr. Roboto tour. And very, very dramatic, lots of heavy duty cueing. And there was a cinematographer that was brought in because the whole thing was done on film. This gentleman, Daniel Pearl, went over every cue with me and said something that has stuck with me, simple as it is. He just said, think about not using two lights when you can use one. And that stuck with me because we were looking at close-up shots and analyzing them. And, there were so many instances where, lights would overlap and you would overcomplicate something by using more lights than you needed. And that's something that's always been at the forefront of my mind whenever I cue a show now. Don't use two when one is sufficient.
Right. That's great advice. Great advice. Scale it back and keep everything under control.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. Professionally, what would you say is your proudest achievement so far?
A show that I'm really proud of is the Bruce Springsteen Western Stars movie that he did just 2 years ago with an orchestra behind him that was supposed to be done in a legit theater in Asbury Park. And ended up being done in his barn on his property. Beautiful barn, but not production friendly at all.
I can imagine.
But there was a lot of emphasis put on not blocking, the architectural features of the barn, and there were a lot of people squeezed into a very small space. There was 20 orchestra members and lots of band members around the stage. And I felt that I was able to find locations to place these lights, make the right choice of fixture. And, between that and of course, Bruce's fabulous music and a really excellent programmer, we managed to pull off a show that you would not have known had the challenges that it did. And I was very proud of how that
went. Right. That's great. That's fantastic. It's awesome to know some of those stories behind what you see on the screen and how challenging it was to get it to look that good. Now, obviously, normally you're around traveling and getting shows up and running and obviously working across the country and around the globe. But when you're not working, what do you normally do in your downtime?
Well, I cook a lot, and this has been a good opportunity the last year to learn how to make fresh pasta and do some things that I hadn't done before. Play with some new gadgets and in the kitchen, and so I've had a lot of time to sort of hone my cooking a little bit. I love skiing. I'm an avid skier, and haven't had a chance to ski in a while. I didn't ski at all last year.
Right.
Hope to catch a little bit before the season is over this year, just as things open up a little bit. And photography, I totally love getting out and doing travel photography, landscape photography, nature, family,
right.
things like that.
Fantastic. Excellent. As we mentioned, you've traveled around the world and you've worked in some particularly challenging venues. But do you have a best venue at all?
From a practical point of view, the Auditorium Theater in Chicago is one of the best venues on the planet.
Okay.
It's got an enormous stage. It's got this, 1800s gilt ornate architecture that was designed by Louis Sullivan, who designed a lot of the famous buildings in Chicago. And a great fly system. I mean, you can do anything from a practical point of view. It's got fabulous lighting positions.
Right.
It's got all of this, classic beauty as well. They say it's got perfect acoustics. I know the Chicago Symphony plays there a lot, and they do a lot of classical, but they do all kinds of productions in there, and it's a joy to work in that theater.
All right. Not obviously we've been talking a little bit, but we've been locked down at various stages and for various amounts of time. If you only had one musical artist or one musical album that you could keep with you, who would that be?
If I were to be on a desert island or quarantined for one reason or another, I'd probably take the Steely Dan album, Asia.
Okay.
I could listen to it forever and still find some twists and turns in all the weird musical variations, and the lyrics are kind of an enigma. You can listen to them hundreds of times and get different meanings from them. So it's an album I never get tired of. It's
right.
Just, fabulous. So I could probably spend some time with that one. I did over the last year. I did.
Fantastic. There we go. Excellent. Now, if you were able to go back in time and go and visit the teenage Jeff and offer one piece of advice, what would that be?
This one, I would tell myself, bigger is not necessarily better, but thinking big is good. And I would encourage myself to think big, kind of fear less, just not be afraid to have the confidence to try anything. Because I know that I've had to push myself over the years to do that, get myself out of my comfort level. And, sometimes I've been aware of it and I've been able to kind of kick myself in the pants. And other times I haven't, and I've ended up regretting it. So I would say that.
There we are. Fantastic work. Keep pushing forward. Keep going bigger.
Yeah. It applies at any time in your life.
Yes, that's true. There we are. Now, if you were able to sit down for a cup of coffee with any one person at all, either living or past, who would that be?
I lost my dad when I was a kid, and so I would choose him as somebody that I would love to know more about what his dreams were, because I was too young to really probe into those things when he was still in my life. So I would do that, and kind of bring him up to date on me and see what he would think. So that would be an important person that I would pull out of the past.
And so we get to our final question as well. Now, I know obviously through some of your work, you're familiar with the Olympics, but once we finish the interview, you're going to get a call from Team USA, and they're going to call you up to compete for your country. The question is, it could be for the Summer Games or for the Winter Games, but what's the sport that they would call you up for? What would you like to have a go at?
Well, I don't know how happy they'd be to have me on the team, but I would go for giant slalom.
Okay.
I would do downhill skiing as fast as I can go. I don't think I could do the moguls. It's but the slalom, it's poetry in motion. I love skiing. I love that speed, and I would love to be hearing that countdown and come out the gate.
This has been fantastic, Jeff. Thank you so much for finding some time for this. We really appreciate it. There've been some absolutely fantastic answers. They really have. So yeah, brilliant.
Really honored to be here. Thanks. I'm really pleased.
Pleasure. Well, obviously, we look forward to meeting up in person when the opportunity comes around again. But in the meantime, yeah, thanks again. Stay safe, and yeah, we look forward to seeing you soon.
Thanks, Mark.
Bye.
Bye-bye.